Alright, Karina baby, today is the 17th, and I owe you stories from yesterday. Because Mama had to go down and get her car looked at by Tony. You'll eventually meet Tony. He's amazingly sweet and nice. Mama has known him since I was very little. A little bit older than you. And Tony used to be your grandma's, my mother's boyfriend, and he's super sweet and super nice. So he was helping me out with the car. But anyway, it's the 16th of June, right, is the pot of gold. Once upon a time, there was a little old woman who lived by the sea. The little old woman was poor, and she had to eat what pumpkins she grew in her garden. One day, the little old woman looked out her window and saw a rainbow. She knew that if she could reach the end of the rainbow, she would find a pot of gold. "I'll go at once," said the little old woman to herself. But before she went, she made a pumpkin pie and put it in the oven for supper. Then the little old woman set off. She walked this way, that way, and the other way until she came to the end of the rainbow. Sure enough, there was a pot of gold. The little old woman was about to pick it up when a dragon popped his head out of the cave. The dragon who was guarding the gold, looked surprised. He hadn't seen anyone for years. "Stop," he roared, but it sounded more like a cough than a roar. "Why?" asked the little old woman. The dragon thought for a moment. "I can't remember," he said. The little old woman felt sorry for the dragon. "Why don't we share the gold?" she suggested. Well," said the dragon thoughtfully. "Could you come and live with me by the sea?" said the little old woman. The dragon gazed up at the sky, as if to consider this offer carefully. He had always wanted to go to the seaside. "I might," he said. "There's pumpkin pie for dinner," coaxed the little old woman. "Done," cried the dragon, who loved pumpkin pie more than anything in the whole world. And he roared a happy roar. So the little old woman took the pot of gold and climbed on the dragon's back, and they flew home. And from that day on, the little old woman and the dragon lived happily together and ate pumpkin pie every day. Look at that. This little old woman went to the end of the rainbow. She has lived by herself for so long, eating nothing but pumpkins. And then she met up with a dragon who loves pumpkin pie, and now she is together with the dragon. Now, it took her a long time to get to that moment in her life, baby. Everything takes a long time to get to the moment where things are actually okay. But it says in the Bible that God will replenish everything that the locust has eaten. And a locust is something that comes up and eats up your crops. It's like potato bugs that go from the potatoes and eat up all your crops, right? So everything will be okay. You just have to give everything time. You have to be patient. And that's something that your mama's good at. Good at being patient. Like Ada gave me a key. We're playing a game. So she gave me a key, and can't wait for you to meet her. You're going to absolutely love her. You're going to love Riley too, but I think that you and Ada are going to be really good friends. I think that you and Riley are going to be really good friends too. Alright, so the dog and the shadow. One day, a dog stole a piece of meat out of the butcher shop. And on his way to a safe place where he could eat it without interruption, he had to cross a footbridge over a clear stream, looking down as he saw his own reflection in the water. Thinking that the reflection was another dog with another piece of meat, he was being greedy, a greedy dog. He made up his mind to have that also, so he snarled and he made a grab for the other dog's meat. As his greedy mouth opened, out plopped the piece of meat and fell into the stream and was lost. So the application is grasp at the shadow and lose the substance. So this doggy was grasping at the shadow, and he lost the substance of his life. He lost his piece of meat. How true is that? I love Aesop's fables because they just teach you in a good way real things about life. Like, don't expect anything from anybody else. You can't. There's no reason to. The Country Mouse and the Town Mouse. You went to go see this one. My mama took you to see this one at the library. Once upon a time, there was a country mouse who had a friend in town, invited him to the old acquaintance sake to pay him a visit in the country. Though plain and rough and somewhat frugal in his nature, the country mouse opened his heart and his store in honor of his old friend. There was not a careful storage up measle that he did not produce from his labors, from his peas and barley, cheese, parsnips, and nuts, to please the plate of his city-bred guest. The town mouse, however, turned up his long nose at the rough country fare. "How is it, my friend," he explained, "that you can endure the boredom of living like a toad in a hole? You can't really prefer these solitary rocks and woods to the excitement of the city. You are wasting your time out here in the wilderness. A mouse, you know, does not live forever. You must make the most of your life while it lasts. So come with me, and I'll show you life and the town." In the end, the country mouse allowed himself to be persuaded, and the two friends set out together on their journey to town. It was late in the evening when they crept steadily into the city, and midnight before they reached the great house where the town mouse lived. On the table of the splendid banquet room, were the remains of a lavish feast. It was now the turn of the city mouse to play host. He ran to and fro to simply all the guests' wants. He pressed dish upon dish and dainty upon dainty upon him, as though he were waiting on a king, and the country mouse, for his part, pretended to feel quite at home. Notice that? Quite his part. Pretended to feel quite at home. He wasn't actually feeling at home, he just pretended to be. And blessed the good fortune that was wrought such a change in his way of life. But in the midst of his enjoyment, just as he was beginning to feel contempt for his frugal life in the country, the sound of barking and growling could be heard outside the door. "What is that?" said the country mouse. "Oh, that is only the master's dog," replied the town mouse. "Only," replied the visitor in dismay. "I can't say that I like the music with my dinner." At that moment the door flew open, and the party of revers, together with the two huge dogs, burst into the room. That affected friend jumped from the table and concealed themselves in a far corner of the chamber. At length, when things seemed quiet, the country mouse stole out from his hiding spot, and bidding his friend good-bye, whispered in his ear, "This fine way of living may do for those who like it, but give me my barley, bread, in peace, in serenity, in preference to your dainty fare partaken with fear and trembling." Application: a crust eaten in peace is better than a banquet partaken in anxiety. Alright, so that means that eating something in peace and quiet is sometimes better than eating something with a bunch of noise all around you all the time. Because in the city, Mama's lived in both. Mama's in the country right now. I'm living on a farm. But I was living in the city right before this. I was living on Amber Street in Kensington with Miss Marie, who I absolutely love and adore. And, you know, I was living with my church family. So Mama had it both ways. Mama and Papa lived in the city for 7 years together, and we used to live on the main strip, Germantown Ave. And so we would be interrupted sometimes from our sleep because sometimes they do a fair out there every year where it's just an art show all the way down the street. So in the morning, you hear the banging of everything at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning when they're starting to set up for this day of parade that they're doing, because we lived right on the main street. And then we lived on the main strips a few times in a few different areas, and it's always the same thing. Whenever you live on a main drag, sometimes you have a parade in the morning and you have to move your cars. Sometimes you have an art fair like we did in Philly and you have to move your cars. When we lived in Montgomery County, we had parades going out during the holidays that we had to move our cars. Sometimes they got towed. It was no big deal. But, like, you know, so when you live in the city, it's harder because you have all the street noise in the morning. Like, we used to live on Germantown Ave, and across the street there was a bus station right from where we used to live. We used to live right by the bus station. And so your mama and papa would be up. Your papa would usually always be up around like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning anyway, and the buses started to roll in and people started to like go to work and stuff. And mama sometimes, it depends on what year it was, but I was getting home from work sometimes around that time when everyone was trying to like get into town already. So mama would park her car and then walk in to the building and fall asleep at home. Like, fall asleep in my chair, fall asleep in the bed. I was tired. I was working a lot. But yeah, so we had it both places. And the mouse is actually pretty right. I mean, you have a lot of anxiety from living in the city, just from all the noise around you constantly. And then in the country, it's quiet at night. It's nice at night. It's quiet a lot during the day. Someone rolls down the street and you look to see who it is because there's not a lot of people going up and down the street every day. Just like, though, in the city, though, like, you know most of your neighbors and everyone's lovely and everyone's so nice because, like, where I was living outside had, you know, there was a mechanic who was right outside who was helping a lot of people, and then across the way there was a guy who owned most of the street, like, and then down the street there was people doing things, you know, so it's just a different way of life, that's all, for each and every prospect of living. So, the fox and the crow. A crow who had stolen a piece of cheese was flying towards the top of a tall tree where he hopped to enjoy his prize. When a fox spied him. "If I plan this right," said the fox to himself, "I shall have cheese for supper." So as he sat under the tree and began to speak in his politest tones, "Good day, Mistress Crow. How well you are looking today. How glossy your wings, and your breast in the breast of an eagle, and your claws, I beg pardon, your talons. Your talons are as strong as steel. I have not heard your voice, but I am certain that it must express that of any other bird, just as your beauty does." The vain crow was pleased by all of this flattery. She believed every word of it, and wrangled her tail, and flapped her wings, and showed her pleasure. She looked especially what Friend Fox said about her voice, for she had sometimes been told that her caw was a bit rusty. So, chuckling to think how she was going to surprise the fox with her most beautiful caw, she opened her mouth wide, and down dropped the piece of cheese. The wily fox snatched it before it touched the ground, and as he walked away, licking his chops, he offered those words of advice to the silly crow: "The next time someone praises your beauty, be sure to hold your tongue." Application: flatterers are not to be trusted. So that fox was trying to flatter this crow so that this way he got the piece of cheese, right? Foxes can be tricky. Alright, so the husband who was to mind. The house will be next. And I'm going to read that one to you next because Mama is missing a day because I was gone all day yesterday. Do you have any idea how much I love you, Karina? I love you so incredibly much. Much rather be reading you books in person, but I'm just happy that I could read you books over the internet, because this way you know for a fact that I haven't forgotten about you for even a second. Like, I could prove that other ways to you. I write to you all the time. I love you so very much. I'm trying to stay in contact with you. So this is like one of the ways I could actually stay in contact with you without Papa telling me no. So, but just know that I love you and I miss you. Alright, let's sing a song, and then I'll be right back anyway. Let's sing Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Well, I looked over Jordan, and what did I see? Coming forth to carry me home, a band of angels coming after me, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Well, sometimes I'm up and sometimes I'm down, coming forth to carry me home. But still I feel my soul is heavenly bound, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Now if you get there before I do, coming forth to carry me home, tell all my friends I'll be coming there too, coming forth and carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. I'll be coming home, coming home, coming home to you, coming forth to carry me home. You know my word is good, you know my word is true, coming forth and carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth and carry me home. Karina, baby, I love you. I'm not going to sing Lila Tove right now. We could sing Lila Tove right now anyway. Just sing Lila Tove and good night to you. Lila Tove, may your dreams come true. We sing Lila Tove, may Israel protect you throughout the night, until we reach the morning light. Those were the last two songs I sang to you, baby. I think about that all the time. I sang those songs to so many people when I was away, and everybody loves them. I used to sing people to sleep all the time, every night. I used to rattle off what we're going to be having for breakfast, lunch, and dinner the next day, what classes were open and available, and then I'd sing everybody to sleep. And then I'd do everyone's hair during the day and thread everyone's face and stuff. It was just something I was doing. I always thought about you every second of every day. I miss you. I miss you so incredibly much. And you're just like me, and I love you. You like everything hot. You love all your hot wings, all of your hot sauce and everything. You're just so loving and caring, and you put other people's before you. You put other people before you. Don't get yourself caught up by doing that. Just, I want you to love on everybody, but don't get yourself in trouble. Don't take the blame for other people. Don't ever do that. You know that I love you and I miss you and I can't wait to see you. Alright, I'm going to be right back because I'm just going to read you another storybook, and I'm going to read you more books from this. I'm going to read you The Husband Who Was in Mind of the House, and I'm going to read you Costume Party because that's for the 17th, and that's today. I adore you, baby. I adore you and I miss you. And just like it says in the poem, in the Rudyard Kipling, if I can wait and not be tired and wait about, if I can be lied about and don't deal in lies, if I don't look too good nor talk too wise, right? It's all in that poem. That poem's absolutely amazing. I'm going to read it to you over and over again when I get you back. I love you. I love you so much. Good night, my angel.